Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. This is Claire and I have Jessica here next to me. We are product marketers from Atlassian and we're super excited to demonstrate to you how you and your team can get the most out of Confluence Cloud. Jessica is going to walk through some basic housekeeping items and then we'll get started.
Hi everyone, it's Jessica. I want to talk to you about how this webinar is going to go down. First of all, you'll have a chance to ask questions throughout, and we'll try to get to as many of them as possible. We'll also do a Q&A session at the end. We're going to take several polls during the webinar, and we'd love for you to participate. And then most importantly, we'll send you a recording of the webinar within the week, and you can share it with any of your teammates who want to learn more about how to get the most out of Confluence. So here's our agenda for today. First, we'll talk to you about setting up your site and spaces. Then we'll go into how to make beautiful pages. We'll talk about how to organize everything inside of Confluence and how to find what you need. And then we'll talk about a bunch of the popular use cases for Confluence, like managing knowledge, collaborating, and staying engaged. We'll also discuss several popular integrations that companies use with Confluence. And then, of course, we'll take your questions at the end.
Great. So for some of you that might be new to Confluence, I just wanted to give a sort of brief overview of sort of the value and the benefit your team can see in Confluence. So if you're like Jessica and myself, the information you need to do your job is spread out all over the place. So you may have some information in Word docs, email, of course, Slack, PDFs, even Post-it notes that you have from different meetings. So it can make finding information difficult, especially if you're on a global team or a remote team. And even if you're not, there's many ways of working in different teams who have a variety of knowledge spread across different locations and files. So what Confluence really does is bring all that information into one place and one platform across all of your teams. All that information is connected, interconnected so that it's easily found and not locked in folders or apps across your devices. So it's really a central hub where you can organize your work, collaborate together, and get your work done. One important thing to note is that Confluence is a Swiss Army knife. So there's a lot of different use cases, as Jessica mentioned. Some teams use it for knowledge management, some people use it for project collaboration, and even just to get sort of employees engaged in the company culture. And then a lot of companies use it for all three. So I wouldn't think of Confluence, there's one way to use it, but there's many different ways, and today we're going to really go over the tips we have for making the most out of using Confluence. Okay, let's dive right in. So first I'll start you with Home. Home is a new feature and the first page you'll see when you start Confluence. So Home helps you easily find where you left off. All of your recent pages that you visited, worked on, starred, or drafted. I really like Home because it lets me jump into the work that I've recently been working on in Confluence. Home also shows you an activity feed on the right side of what's happening across your team or in your company. You can also filter for what's popular on your site based on likes and comments. Over time, we'll make this more relevant for you with more signal and less noise, so you can see what's important across your company. Everything in Confluence is organized in spaces, which can also be found in Home. So spaces are a collection of related pages and an easy way to organize your Confluence site. And then pages are the docs that your team will actually use to create, edit, and discuss or plan and get your work done. So I also want to show you just the new navigation that we have for Confluence. This new top navigation in Confluence, you can get to all the information across your site really easily from any page that you're on in Confluence. You can see all the recent work, drafts, starred pages, and blogs. You can also see any of the spaces that you've recently visited or starred. The People tab is also where you can find a site directory of all the users that are on Confluence. You can start a team by going to the Start a Team button, and this will spin up a team profile page and allow you to mention your entire team. And of course, you can also create pages from the navigation too. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about team spaces. So let's walk through an example of a team space. So we recommend in Confluence that you have a space for every team or sort of big project across your organization. So like I mentioned, spaces help you organize all of the pages that are related to that team. So this is a marketing example of a homepage of a team. We've named all of the team members, we've shared our mission and our goals, and also the blogs that are relevant to this team. Let's take a look at the page tree. This is something that's unique to Confluence and really helps you organize all the pages that you have in Confluence. You can drag and drop pages in the page tree, which is also a pretty new feature of Confluence. This will help you keep your pages organized and show sort of the hierarchy of how pages fit. This is another way you can actually create pages in context. So if you hover over a page in the page tree, you can press the plus button. And that's a way to actually create a page exactly where you need it to live in Confluence in the page tree. So now I want to show you another type of space, which are personal spaces in Confluence. So Jessica is looking at her personal space. She hasn't created one yet, but this is where she would actually go to create it. A personal space is a great place to keep all of your pages that you might not want to share with your team just yet, or stuff that is only for you to view, like a career document or projects that you're working on. We can take a look at my personal space to show you an example. I've shared sort of a few things about me that people can come and navigate to. Any blogs that I've written, anything that I've recently updated will also be shown on this space. And then lastly, I want to take you through the last part of the navigation, which is search. You can find recent work by using the Recent tab in the navigation, as I mentioned before. You can also use the keyboard shortcut GR to open this window and find recently visited pages or drafts. Use the / to open up the regular search in the top right. And then for those of you who want even more powerful search, you can use granular filters. Just tap the search bar and go to where it says Advanced Search. This will allow you to narrow down your search by contributor, content type, last modified date, label, or even search for page titles.
Okay, it's Jessica again, and now we're going to talk about how to create beautiful pages in Confluence. All of this magic happens in the editor. As Claire mentioned, you can start a page by tapping the Create button in the top navigation. And just keep in mind that wherever you create from is where that page will live. So here you can create a page from scratch or use a pre-made template. So let's suppose I want to take notes in a meeting. I can use the meeting notes template, which is quite popular, and fill it in with important information. So you can add the date, the participants, the agenda, the goals, even action items and decisions that were made. But let's imagine that you want to start a new page. When you open the editor, you can set headers, format your text, and use macros to make informative, well-organized Confluence pages. But of course, you want to start by giving your page a name, a title, and then you can also add headings. And Claire's going to go through and show you how to create a project plan. So if you learn nothing else today, the most important thing is the / command. This is the most powerful feature in the editor, and it loads macros. And you can either start typing macros or do as Claire was doing, which is just scrolling through the list. So now she's adding a layout, and a table. And tables are one of the best ways to organize information because you can sort them to better spot trends in your data. They also help you just organize project plans. So here she's using the status macro to add a status to show where her project is. You can also add team members, and when you tag them, they will get an email notification when they've been added to a page. We love Confluence because it integrates so well with Jira, and so she is using the Jira integration, again, a macro. And so if you have a Jira ticket associated with your project, it's really easy to embed it in the page. And then we also have a fun feature in the macros which allows you to add emojis and give your pages some team spirit. So if you aren't ready for others to see your page, you can close it, which will save your page in draft format. Confluence uses a publish model, so when you're ready for the page to be seen by others, you simply press publish. Now before you publish, you can update the permissions on your page, and you can do this by tapping the lock icon in the top right of your page. You can set permissions to anyone can view and edit, editing restricted so everyone can view, but only some can make changes. Viewing and editing restricted, use this setting if you want to only share your page with a small group of people. And only when you publish your page and open up your permission will others be able to see it. One thing to keep in mind is that pages inherit the permissions of the space they're in. As we mentioned, Confluence can be used for different purposes. So we want to show you a few tips depending on how you use it. Many of you may use Confluence for technical documentation, so I want to show you how to use tables and anchored headings. Let's take another look at tables. When you click on a table, you'll see these dots that you can hover over and very easily insert columns and rows. You can also highlight over columns and rows to delete them. You can change background colors and add numbered columns too. You can even adjust your tables from fixed width to full width. Now, if you want to send someone information that's most relevant to them, you should use anchored headings. When you add a heading and you publish your page, you can automatically copy a heading link and send it to whomever you need so that they can go right to the section of the page you want them to read. So one of the ways we use Confluence here at Atlassian is to collaborate with each other. And of course, you can actually edit collaboratively on the same page simultaneously. So look, Claire, we're in here together. And you can also add comments at the bottom of people's pages once they're published and in line by highlighting over text on the page. The best way to show team spirit and give your teammates a hit of dopamine is by liking their pages and commenting. And our comment functionality uses the same editor. Now, for those of you who want to use Confluence to keep your team engaged, there are a few power features for that too. You can star pages that you want to save to read later, and they're a little bit like bookmarks. You can find pages you starred under your work in the navigation. You can also watch a page by clicking on the eye icon. This way, you'll get emails whenever that page changes, so you can stay on top of the latest updates. And if you want to truly wow your team and share more about yourself, write a blog. You can do this from the Create tab in the navigation. And what's cool about blogs is that they get listed under your team or personal space too.
Okay, Claire again here. There are loads of integrations that you can use right within Confluence so that Confluence can act as your single source of truth. Today we're going to introduce you to some of the top integrations used with Confluence. Let's get started with Jira. So you can navigate to Jira using the app switcher in the top left corner of Confluence and dive right into Jira. So for those of you who work with development teams who are always in Jira, you can keep those cross-functional teams in the know by pulling Jira issues or roadmaps directly into your Confluence pages. So earlier we showed you the Jira issue in Confluence, but today we want to show you the latest launch that we had was around Jira roadmaps. So if you go to Jira roadmaps, you can actually just copy the URL straight from the Jira roadmap and then navigate back to your project plan to embed it. Simply just add the link to your Confluence page and the Jira roadmap will appear on the page. So this is great to keep stakeholders, sort of give stakeholders visibility into milestones or date changes. Instead of having to always have them log into Jira, they can just go to a Confluence page and see that Jira roadmap right there. The other nice trick I wanted to show you is around creating Jira issues straight from a Confluence page. So I'll go into publish mode. And here you can see that earlier we embedded a Jira issue, but now you can actually just create a Jira issue straight from a Confluence page. Awesome. So I know some of you also use Trello to manage your projects. So I want to show you that you can also embed a Trello board directly into your Confluence page. So if you navigate to Trello, you can grab the URL simply as you did before, and then go back to your project page, and then you're going to use the Trello macro, just using the / command as we showed earlier. And then from the macro, just embed the URL. And that Trello board will appear on your Confluence page. And after you publish, you'll actually be able to move cards directly from Confluence in your Trello board. Awesome. So the other integrations that we want to talk about today are actually found on the Atlassian Marketplace. So some of these integrations will have to be installed by your site administrator to enable them. But let's take a spin over here and see what's available. So we have a ton of different tools from design, themes and styles, document management. Okay, I'm just going to jump back to my slides here so I can show you a demo of some of these great integrations. Let's start with Google Drive. The Google Drive integration is really something useful because it allows you to display supporting data or make your business case with slides right in Confluence. You can drop a Google link in your page or use the / command to find Google to add a doc, spreadsheet, or slides to your page. You can embed or even edit all of your Google Drive sheets, slides, and docs within Confluence. You can also adjust the height and width of these elements or go full screen. Let's go to the Slack integration. The Slack app allows you to interact with Confluence directly within Slack. So if you use Slack to chat with your team, this is a great way to stay in one app without interrupting your workflow. You can choose what pages and spaces you want to track in Slack and what notifications to receive. You can see a Confluence page preview in Slack and even reply to a Confluence comment. Next up is Gliffy. So Gliffy is a native integration that allows you to seamlessly add diagrams to Confluence pages. Drag and drop functionality makes it really easy to create and edit diagrams, embed or link diagrams throughout your instance. They'll stay updated automatically. Choose from ready-made templates or use an existing diagram as a starting point. Cool. Draw.io is a similar app. This is another popular integration for creating flowcharts and diagrams in your Confluence pages. It comes with a large library of templates. Creating and editing are built into standard Confluence workflow.